Hey, everybody. Welcome to week 11 of the NFL season, where I'll be talking about our survivor picks for the week. The last few weeks, the NFL season has been crazy with a lot of teams, a lot of heavy favorites losing, knocking a lot of people out of survivor leagues. I know there's not a ton of people left in a lot of leagues, but for those that are still looking for help, I thought I'd make the video and try to provide value where I can. Again, I got some games circled on our list that I think that people will be looking at this week. Importantly, there are a few teams that are at home that are favored by double digits. So those games are probably the safest of the week, and a couple of value picks. As you can see, there's a couple teams here with the Ravens and the Browns, who I really don't have any games the rest of the season, at least right now, where I'm scheduling them to maybe be a survivor pick later in the year. So maybe some potential value there in either of those two teams, but we'll get into that later. And we'll start out with, as we always do, teams I think you should be worried about. Maybe not completely avoid because you might not have that luxury anymore this deep in the season, but teams you should definitely think twice about picking. And the first one of those being the 49ers. At the time of this video, the 49ers have not played the Rams yet on Monday Night Football. I do think that the 49ers are going to come and compete that game and maybe even win that game. However, I don't think that proves that they're a good football team. I still think they're kind of a niche football team with not a lot of offensive firepower, and their defense has been down compared to how they performed in the previous seasons. This is a team that really relies on the run game to get their offense going, and if they can't get that going, then I think they have a lot of trouble, and that's where they lose a lot of football games. Again, I think this game on Monday night against the Rams for the Niners is very situational. I think because they're at home with the second straight game against a divisional opponent, they're coming off a loss, they're going to try to step up and play a little bit better than they normally have been. But I don't think that's indicative of how good this football team is, because I really don't think they have that much talent on the road against the Jaguars, who have been playing better in the past couple of weeks. They gave the Colts a game, covered the spread, and they beat the Bills 2 weeks ago. So going on the road in Jacksonville, I don't love the 49ers because they're not a great football team in my mind, and Jacksonville has certainly been taking steps the past 2 weeks. Another team that proceed with caution with are the Bills, who are at home against the Colts. I do like the Bills here for the fact that they're a home team. That's really the only thing I love or even like about the matchup. The Colts are still a good football team, and they're competing for a playoff spot in the wild card, that AFC. I love the fact that how they play football. They have great coaching. They rely on the run game, and they have a few big plays with Carson Wentz, who's capable of making the deep throw every now and then, and that makes them a pretty dangerous opponent against the Bills. They had a big bounce back game this week, albeit against the Jets, but Josh Allen, that offense looked pretty great with Diggs really stepping up in the receiving game as well. However, there's only 2 weeks ago that I haven't forgotten their terrible loss against the Jaguars. This is still a Bills team that just because they had one good week doesn't mean you can forget some of the bad weeks they've had. I do think they're a really good football team, and I do think they're going to beat the Colts. I think if the Bills are getting back on schedule, which I think they are, will probably handle the the Colts just fine. However, like I said, you never know what to predict. And because of the formula that the Colts have and being an AFC playoff team, you never know what to predict, especially in the AFC conference this year. And so I think the Colts have a formula in place to beat the Bills. Do I think the Bills will come out here with a win at home? Yes, I do, but a little scary for my taste. And the last game to proceed with caution with and think twice about is the Ravens against the Bears, who last week, if you remember, I still like the Ravens a lot here, especially for their value pick. But the Ravens looked really bad against the Dolphins. Not something I think that no one really could have predicted, that terrible loss that they had in Miami. The Bears are coming off a bye week, and Justin Fields is looking better and better each week. I think the Bears are finally figuring out how to, run the offense around him and his talent and skill sets. I think that's great. And then the Bears probably after this bye week are getting a lot healthier, getting Khalil Mack back, who is a huge factor in that defense, especially if they're going to try to slow down Lamar Jackson. Again, I think the Ravens win this game. There's still a lot of value in picking the Ravens because there's not many, if any, games the rest of the season. I like the Ravens. I do think this is a bounce back game for them, where that loss was more of a fluke and them kind of getting themselves inflated in their heads and looking ahead to different weeks and not really worrying about the task of hand. I think that loss really brought them back down to earth, and they're going to have to play a really good game against the Bears to win, which I think they'll do. But regardless, on the road, like I said, a lot of teams recently, like the Buccaneers, the Bengals a couple weeks ago, and the Bills, have been losing these games for the favorite on the road. So teams that are on the road, despite the fact that it seems like it's a layup game, a slam dunk win for them, they've been dropping games, especially teams in the AFC. So this is a game that I have the red flag and caution mark, because I think going on the road in Chicago against a team coming off a bye is dangerous, even regardless of the fact that I think the Ravens are a much better football team than the Bears. So the best pick this week, same one last week. Unfortunately, that one didn't work. Is the Buccaneers. You might be watching this video and be like, "How stupid can you be? You just picked the Bucs last week and they lost. Why are you picking them again this week?" I'm picking it for a couple of reasons. One, the Buccaneers have 2 straight losses. Do I think Tom Brady's going to lose 3 games in a row? I do not. Number 2, this game's at home. I keep mentioning home field advantage is such a big factor in the NFL in general, but especially in Survivor League, makes me a lot more confident picking the Buccaneers at home as opposed to down the road. And lastly, this is the Monday Night Football game. Tom Brady thrives under the lights, doesn't have to cover the spread of 11.5, but he flat out wins football games when he's playing on primetime television. That's one of his strengths and the calling marks of his career. So because of the fact that they're coming off 2 straight losses, and I expect Tom Brady to, be in full force this game in a primetime game at home, I think that makes the Bucs the best pick for this week. But they have, as you'll see in the schedule later, they have plenty of games the rest of the season that I've circled to. So if you want to save the Bucs for later in the year, then I think the Titans are also a great pick, but the better pick being the Buccaneers. The Titans, can't go wrong with them being at home, coming off a great win, a great string of wins. They're 8-2 right now, one of the best records in football. The only thing that dings the Titans for me is that it's a divisional game against a team coming off the bye in the Texans, but I still like the Titans a lot this pick, and you can't go wrong with them if you can't or don't want to pick the Bucs. And then the best value pick are the Browns. Again, I mentioned it earlier in the video. This is a team that I don't have circled for the rest of the year. They have a really tough schedule. They're 10-point favorites. They're at home. They're playing the Lions, who can't even seem to beat the Steelers with their backup quarterback when it looked like no one even wanted to win the game at all. The Browns did look terrible against the Patriots, but I think it's more of a product of Bill Belichick and the Patriots being a really good football team. The Browns are really good at beating up on bad football teams. They're going to get the run game going. Hopefully get Nick Chubb back off the COVID list. He's going to run all over this Lions defense. And I know Baker Mayfield gets a lot of slack, catches a lot of flack each week when he doesn't perform well. He only performs well when that run game is there. And when the Patriots start putting up points and the Browns are forced to abandon the run game, that's when Baker Mayfield's going to struggle, as you saw on Sunday. But when the Browns get a great run game and can control the ball with a run and make plays occasionally with Baker Mayfield, that's when they thrive, as you saw 2 weeks ago against the Bengals. So this team really comes and goes to the run game. I think the Browns are going to run all over Detroit, who doesn't seem to be capable of really winning a football game regardless of the opponent. And the fact that the Browns are at home this week really makes a big difference too. So if you can or don't want to pick the Bucs, I think the Browns are the best value. I think the Titans are also a great pick as well. One of these home teams that are favored by double digits is your best bet this week. Something you really don't need to overthink, honestly, all that much. You look at the schedule here. Like I said, the Buccaneers, I think they have 4 games, especially in the back half of the rest of the season, the remaining part of the season, that you can keep them in your back pocket and play. The Titans are the same way. So that's why I'm leaning towards the Browns being the best pick this week for value-wise, just because you never pick them again. But the safest pick definitely being the Buccaneers and Tennessee. You can make the argument that Tennessee is the best pick because of how hot they are. I think given the situation with the Buccaneers being at home, coming off 2 losses under the lights on primetime football, that's very conducive to the way that Tom Brady plays and operates. He's not a guy who really likes to lose at all in any capacity. The fact that he's got 2 straight losses, I think he's due for a bounce back game. Again, if you can't pick them though, Titans are a great pick. Browns are a great value because you're really not going to pick them at all the rest of the year. And I also, if you're really trying to get crazy, I don't hate the Patriots at minus 5.5 here against the Falcons. They are on the road, and obviously a very risky pick, probably one of the riskiest ones on this, except maybe the 49ers. But the Patriots really seem to be clicking, and the Falcons don't really seem to be all that good of a football team. And so if you're trying to change it up and zig when other people are zagging, the Patriots are not a bad pick here either. But with a couple of crazy weeks in the NFL the last few weeks, I think this one's going to be relatively safer with these top 3 teams at home favored by so much. If you made it this far in Survivor, I think picking one of these top 3 teams, the Bucs, Titans, and Browns, is going to bring you on to week 12 of the NFL season in your Survivor League in a week that's looking really tough so far, unless anything changes in the NFL landscape in the upcoming week. But as always, good luck this week in your Survivor Leagues. Let me know who you're picking. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe. And again, let me know in the comment section who you're picking so we can interact and, give me some feedback too as well. But again, best of luck. And I'm sure we'll see you guys all in week 12 of the NFL season.